PGA Tour Champions Learning Center. Brought to you by Tour Edge Exotics.
Hello once again and welcome to Learning Center. I'm Vince Cellini, hoping you are safe and well. And as you can see, we have a very special guest in this particular episode. He's one of the best players of his generation and a 17-time winner on the PGA Tour, who also became PGA Tour Champions eligible on Tuesday, thanks to a 50th birthday. So we say hello and happy birthday, Jim Furyk, the big 5-0 Jim Furyk.
Yeah, I don't know how I got here. It doesn't seem like it, but that's what they tell me. I'm 50 now.
All right, so we're going to look ahead to what's going on after 50 for you. But I want to start with a question that I've posed to all the guys we've talked to, and that is, how's your family doing during the pandemic down there in the Jacksonville, Florida area?
No, everyone's doing well. I think we realize, how some folks around the country, around the world are struggling. And, it's a bummer for everyone to kind of lock down and be at home most of the time. But, we're doing fine. We've got to spend a lot of quality time together. Just recently, I've got out and played a little bit of golf here in the last week and taken my son with me. So it's been a good time for the two of us. And, it is what it is. You just kind of follow the regulations and what you're supposed to do. And hopefully we'll all get through this together. So, the silver lining is we have had some real quality time together. And my kids are in an age where my daughter's a senior in high school. She's going to college, hopefully in the fall. My son's a sophomore, so soon we'll be empty nesters. I think we'll look back at this time. Obviously it'll be a very difficult time for our country and for the world, but we'll also look back on it and remember the time we got to spend with the kids.
Yeah, very healthy perspective. I think a lot of people are trying to take that. Jim, PGA Tour Champions, as we look at the schedule ahead and golf on the horizon, we hope will resume or is set to resume July 31st at the Ally Challenge, Warwick Hills, where you won the Buick Open back in 2003, so you know it very well. I do want to ask you eventually about competing on PGA Tour Champions, but it's been my experience in speaking with players like your friend Steve Stricker or maybe a Davis Love or a guy like yourself who really can compete on any tour, how you have to arrive at making that decision. I mean, how will you know when it's time to do that and move to a next step?
I think it's going to be different for everyone. And I've talked to Davis along the way, Steve quite a bit. I'm picking their brain. I'm not sure they know it all the time about telling me the differences in the Champions Tour, the regular tour. Strick's a guy that likes to kind of bounce back and forth. He plays a little of both tours. Most guys I talk to haven't enjoyed that. They decided that was a mistake and they had to kind of pick one over the other. And I think that's going to be kind of more the route that I lead, that, I'm either going to play the PGA Tour or the PGA Tour Champions and try not to bounce back and forth a lot. And so when I do indeed make that decision that, okay, it's time, I think I'll flip over to the Champions Tour mainly full time. And, I'll pick off a couple of my favorite events, maybe the RBC Heritage, maybe Valspar down in Tampa. It's a golf course that I love. So there's a few courses along the way that I really enjoy. I maybe will want to go back and play. If possible, but when the timing's right and I get really tired of hitting 4-iron and all the par fours, I'll probably move over to the Champions Tour.
Well, all right. Well, having said that, and of course, we're anxious to see you out there on the over 50 circuit, and it's an exciting time because the tour is changing all the time. You turned 50. Mike Weir shares your birthday. You're born on the same day. Yep. He's there. Phil Mickelson will be 50 in June. So as we see that, and no one, believe me, no one's tugging at you to come out here, but do you feel like you could make an appearance this year? Is that possible?
Yeah, I absolutely do. And I think with both schedule changes, it might even give me a little bit more of an opportunity to get out and play a little bit on the Champions Tour. There's a block in the PGA Tour schedule where the tour goes to Asia possibly for 3 weeks. That's a time I think that's in what was the playoff schedule in the Schwab Cup. And so I may try to get in there and play a couple of those events. You mentioned Flint. I think is that the Ally? Is that correct?
Yes. So, yes, that's the end of July.
A golf course that I loved, a community that I loved playing in throughout my career. The other one I'm really looking forward to, and I'm not sure I'll be able to get there this year, is the Players. And so that's in Akron at Firestone, and a golf course that I always wanted to win in my career. It's one of those thorns in my side. There's about 3 courses that I didn't win on the PGA Tour. It still bothers me to this day. So that's one of them.
That's unfinished business. I like that. I like that
Yeah.
motivation. So maybe we might see you at the opener Champions Tour, possibly. The
It's
Ally.
possible. It's possible. It's
Okay.
possible. I'm not sure how that schedule is going to work out exactly, but it's possible.
Okay.
Talked to Miller Brady a little bit about it, and I'm not sure, but I definitely haven't ruled it out.
All right. Good. Well, all right. I mentioned your friend Steve Stricker, and of course he follows you as the U.S. Ryder Cup captain. And when he was making his announcements in one of the press conferences, he mentioned you right away as a vice captain. And you know better than most, or as good as most, about what it's going to take, the challenge that Steve has in front of him, not only him, but for you and the players as well. So what lies ahead for this particular group once Ryder Cup rolls around?
Well, there's just a lot of uncertainty right now. We're not back to play in June. We're trying to look ahead, the whole qualification
Right.
system. We've stopped accruing points now for, I think it's going to be 10 weeks. So there's right now, I think we're trying to look for definitives. We're trying to, Steve's trying to figure out what do we know, what can we work on, and he's got a lot of experience. He's been a vice captain for between President's Cup and Ryder Cups probably 5 times. He was a very successful President's Cup captain in New Jersey. So Steve comes in with probably more experience at this position than anyone else. And then he'll assemble a good staff around him. And, my job is to help him with anything he needs and kind of probably fall back on my experiences. Hey, what worked? Where did we struggle? What do we need to fix? What do we need to do to move forward? And just kind of keep an eye on things. But I'm looking forward to it. He's a good friend. I think he's a really good man. He's a good leader. He's kind of quiet, but when he speaks, you should listen because he's got something good to say. And I think he's going to lead this team very well. And I'm happy to go along for the ride and do anything that Captain Stricker needs and to help him in any way.
Yeah, we're excited about it as well. And of course, everything is speculation at this point, including, the idea of not having fans at a Ryder Cup. And that's just really, it's hard to wrap your head around that, isn't it? To not have fans at a Ryder Cup.
It is.
It seems so important to the event itself.
It's extremely difficult. I think it's hard to wrap my head around playing without fans in any event.
Right.
But then at a Ryder Cup, I think you can ramp that up 100 times. That's one of the advantages of a home Ryder Cup is your home crowd. 90% of the people are cheering for one side versus the other. You just don't see that at many other events in golf. And to give that advantage back would be very difficult. And so I can't envision that, and I hope that would never be the case at a Ryder Cup or a President's Cup. But the fans in Wisconsin come out in droves for the PGA Championship. It's going to be crazy there as far as they have great sports fans, great folks. Captain Stricker is a native of Wisconsin. I just I cannot imagine not having our fans there cheering him and our team on, and hopefully that's the case.
Yeah, you got to have that home field advantage. No question about that. So we talked about your schedule a little bit. I do have you down definitely for one PGA Tour Champions event, and that'll be October of 2021 at the Constellation Furyk and Friends. That's a new event of yours, Jacksonville at Timuquana Country Club. And I guess my question is, what does this mean to you? Where did the idea of you actually being forefront of this event come from, and what can we expect there, Jim?
Well, Tabitha and I have had our foundation for 10 years, and our biggest fundraiser is a charity celebrity golf tournament. We have a concert, so it's food, music, drink, golf, fun. Not ever in that order for sure. Golf seems to be the last part, but we've always been trying to figure out a way to grow. How are we going to get bigger? How are we going to make it better? And ultimately, how are we going to raise more money so we can help Northeast Florida and help this community? And this has been over 2 years in the process. I knew I was getting close to the Champions Tour. I knew I was going to have to flip. It was going to be a lot more difficult to ask folks to come off the PGA Tour and play in this event. I saw, Davis, run the RSM. Strick's running his event up in Wisconsin, the AmFam.
Yep.
And so I wanted to know if there was an opportunity, and it was talking to Jay Monahan, talking to Miller Brady. We got wonderful support from the PGA Tour, and I've kind of asked the guys, what makes a successful event? One, you need a great sponsor. We have that in Constellation Energy. Two, you need a great golf course, and we have that in Timuquana. And this is really going to be kind of about showcasing Jacksonville, showcasing the city. Tabitha and I, in the last couple of years, moved into the San Marco area, in town in Jacksonville. It's got a lot to offer. I think it's an underrated city for that matter. A beautiful St. Johns River. The golf course sits on the river, and so we kind of want to utilize that waterway, when you utilize the golf course in our city and showcase it. And with that, hopefully, we're looking for some great support from the community. We're looking to raise more dollars and hopefully help out Northeast Florida. So we're excited. It's a way for us to grow and a way for us to showcase our wonderful city.
No question. We're excited about it too, being on the schedule. And it's a little different too, as you've played for a long time, when you actually have your name on an event and there's some ownership of an event, and it's really a part of your legacy. I mean, this is kind of, I don't know, I'm not to make it overwhelming, but it's pretty cool.
It's a bit overwhelming.
That close association. It is?
Yeah, it's a bit overwhelming. I think, Tabitha runs our foundation, and she is kind of the bulldog of all this. And she's the one running the show right now. And I'm really proud of the work she's done. She does a lot of great community work, a lot of great charity work here in town. And we're teaming up on this together, and she's really done a great job. And like I said, we've got some good help. We're in the hiring process as it is, assembling a team, and we're ready to, this has given us, it's a little awkward this time off, but it's also given us a chance to really think about this event and how we want it to shape out.
All right, we're going to take a little turn here and go to our weekly segment, What's Your Edge, presented by Tour Edge Exotics. And Jim, as everyone knows, you're the author of 2 sub-60 rounds on PGA Tour, including the record 58 final round of the Travelers Championship in 2016. So how do we shoot 58? No, I'm kidding. When you're at your best, and if you could help our viewers, what is it that allows you to go low? I mean, what actually are the components of doing that? And what would your advice be to players who are amateurs trying to maybe whittle down their score?
Yeah. Well, it's trying to break 60 is no different than trying to break 100, then 90, then 80, then 70, then 60. It just keeps getting, at every stage, it keeps getting harder and harder and harder. And it's the better player you become, the more difficult it is to shave a shot or two here or there. But early on, it's course management, it's short game. It's really 100 yards and in. And I think the better you become and trying to break 70, trying to break 60, it really becomes a mental battle. So I think the reason it happened later in my career was I was probably a little bit more mature and a little bit more ready for that task. And just getting comfortable. First time you're trying to break 70 and you have to make a few pars on the way in. That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to make pars on the way in, instead of trying to make birdies and go deeper and lower and try to shoot 67 instead of 69. And so, I got into both times breaking 60. I got off to really good starts, 8 under on the front 9, and it became more of a mental battle of keeping the pedal down, staying aggressive, trying to make birdies. And kind of more not fighting the golf course, not fighting my golf swing, but really fighting, what you're thinking about in your head and realizing you're human and you're going to make some mistakes. And, I had probably Tabitha's voice in my head. I had my dad's voice in my head. I had Doc Rotella's voice in my head, just trying to kind of run through things and finish off those rounds in style.
Yeah, that's really solid advice, no matter what you're trying to break at any level. So, Jim, we have the return of some televised golf coming up on NBC and Golf Sunday in this event, the TaylorMade Driving Relief event. And I was wondering what your interest is in that as a player of your stature, given the fact that we'll see Rory McIlroy and Dustin Johnson taking on Ricky Fowler and Matthew Wolff. And, the fact that we're going to see some golf.
I've heard of all those guys before.
Yeah, that was my little promo for the
there
event.
You go.
I mean, will you watch as a fan?
Let me guess, it's on Golf Channel?
Yeah, NBC and Golf. Yeah, for that matter.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Yeah, I think I will. I think we're all dying for a little bit of live sports, right? I think, to see the world's best golfers. I mean, everyone you mentioned in that group is an elite player. I think they'll have a lot of fun. There'll probably be a little chirping going on, right? Little back and forth, which will be fun for the viewers to watch. And, No, I think it's great. We need some golf on TV, but to wrap it up and do something good with the money in a charitable way, I think is fantastic, because the world needs that as well right now.
Yeah, that's the big picture stuff for sure. I mentioned Matthew Wolff, mentioned him to Kenny Perry, and he said he's a fan because he likes guys with unique swings, guys that are a little unconventional. And of course, you know better than most. So when you take a look at a guy who has an unusual swing, and you have one, I mean, how do you get to a point where you own it, or you say, you know what, this is me, and this is how I play? Is it just success? And of course, it's easy for you because you're Jim Furyk and now Matthew Wolff. But how do you arrive at that, and how did you get there?
I think it's more confidence than anything else. I mean, my father and I worked on my fundamentals. We worked on my address position. My swing improved or evolved each and every year on the PGA Tour. But I think a lot of it was just really having a lot of belief in myself, had a lot of belief in my father and what he was teaching me. And it was repeatable. The idea was what's natural is repeatable. We still have to work on the fundamentals. There's still things that we have to improve on. But, I think that belief in myself and that I could repeat that day in and day out. And that's what gets you to that next level. And, when I played with Matthew in Vegas in the fourth round last year. What I've heard about him is he hits the ball hard and he hits it solid. And I saw both of those things in 18 holes out in Las Vegas. I'm sure he has a lot of confidence in himself to come right out of college and win early on the PGA Tour is phenomenal. And then he's a nice young man as well. I mean, everyone has nice things to say about him off the course, and those are the things you want to hear. So I think he's got a long, bright career ahead of him, and he's going to keep improving, keep getting better, and look out.
Of course, you made. I talked about you being able to compete really anywhere, and of course, you made that run at the Players before Rory was able to hold you off. What do you see with this new wave of young players as someone who's been in the game for so long?
I think they're ready to not only compete, but they're ready to win at a much younger age. You always had Jack Nicklaus coming right out of college, almost winning the U.S. Open, and then kind of early in his career being one of the best players in golf. At every level, Phil Mickelson did the same thing, but it just seems like there's the talent pool is deeper, and so there's more players at that age that come out and they're ready to win. They're ready to not only compete but come out and try to dominate the game, and it's fun to watch. I mean, every era I think has gotten better. The great players in any era would have competed at any time, but there's just so many more good players now, and it's fun to watch. It's kind of fun to be in the middle of a couple generations where, I got to play against Hale Irwin, and, I played in events that Jack Nicklaus played in on the PGA Tour early in my career. And now, bridging that gap with, guys coming out of college, Matthew Wolff and Morikawa, and the guys that have done so well, to be a part of that is kind of cool. I feel like I'm right in the middle of about 4 generations.
Yeah. We've watched you take those steps. Were you ready to win at that point, or were you a little intimidated?
No. At 22, no.
Yeah.
No one would have picked me. Coming out of college, there weren't many folks that ever figured I'd have a professional career. So one of the bonuses of that is that I didn't have a lot of pressure. I was able to kind of chip away and improve at my own pace, really without a watchful eye or a skeptical eye. The one problem with coming out and having so much talent is everyone expects it now, which is difficult on some of the younger players. Some handle it very well, some don't. And I probably wouldn't have handled that very well. I needed kind of to be able to improve at my own rate. And because of that, I was able to actually do it pretty quickly. I came out of college, played the Nike Tour for 1 year, and then moved on to the PGA Tour. And I think a lot of folks didn't think I was ready, but I was able to win in my second year on tour. So, that was at the age of 24. So was I ready at 22? No, I think most were shocked I was ready at 24.
Yeah, well, look at you now at 50.
You keep plugging away, you keep getting better. And by the time I got any notoriety or a little bit of fame in the world of golf, I was, I guess, mature enough to handle it. And I think my game was in a spot where I was able to handle it. And so things just happened for me at the right time and probably at the right speed.
Jim, lastly, kudos to the Jim and Tabitha Furyk Foundation, which really did an amazing job during this pandemic, and the donation of $100,000 to Baptist Health, which is going to help in the COVID-19 emergency relief and help those frontline workers. Congratulations on doing that. How much did that mean for you and Tabitha and your foundation?
It meant a lot. We've worked closely with Baptist for a number of years. Tabitha is actually the chair of the foundation board. So she works closely over there, and it kind of gives us a real good idea of the needs in our community, the needs in our healthcare systems. And so it's something that we're real keen on and work closely with them. And we're blessed here in Jacksonville to have a number of great medical systems and a great children's hospital as well in Wolfson. So, it's been an honor to work with them, and we're real proud of the work that we've done and the money we've been able to raise. And as I said, we're hoping to grow. We're hoping to get a little bigger just so we can help more folks and be involved more.
Well, Jim, well done. Congratulations on really all your success, and we appreciate your time. It's been a pleasure to speak with you, really.
Thanks.
I can't wait to see you out here on PGA Tour Champions.
I agree. Thanks. I
Thank
appreciate it,
you.
Vince.